God let you suffer so when He elevates you, you won't waste it posting selfies and subtweets. Let's be real, some of you were built like royalty but lived like refugees, dodging narcissists, escaping soul snatchers, surviving gaslighting with nothing but your dignity duct taped together. But now, God said, enough. The shaking you feel in your spirit isn't anxiety. It's the sound of heaven rearranging the spiritual landscape on your behalf. And here's the twist. The ones who laughed at your downfall will have to watch your elevation with locked jaws and regret in surround sound. They had front row seats to your humiliation. Now they'll have nosebleed seats to your coronation. So grab your spiritual passport, because where God is taking you, small talk, small minds, and small assignments are no longer allowed. Let's talk about what this elevation really means. And trust me, it's not just a blessing. It's a bold, divine disruption. Number one, God's silence was not delay, it was surveillance. God's silence was never neglect, it was surveillance. While it looked like nothing was happening, everything was being documented. Every betrayal, every false rumor, every room where they dragged your name through the mud. He saw it all. You weren't forgotten. You were under divine observation. And the same silence you mistook for delay was God collecting evidence for a judgment that would be public, undeniable, and irreversible. People assumed you were abandoned. But they didn't realize the case was being built in the spirit realm, line by line, moment by moment. You weren't being ignored. You were being watched closely because your story required precision, not popularity. When you're chosen, God doesn't operate off sympathy. He moves by divine strategy. He doesn't rush in just because you're hurting. He waits until the move will shut every mouth permanently. He let them think they were winning. He let the lies circulate. He allowed the smear campaigns to play out. Why? Because he was allowing the enemy to overplay their hand, to incriminate themselves with boldness. You were the bait, but now you're the key witness to their exposure. Every tear you cried was a timestamp. Every time you stayed silent when you could have exposed them. That was grace on display, and heaven took notes. They thought you had no one fighting for you because God didn't clap back when they attacked. But elevation requires clean hands. He needed you to stay quiet so you could rise with no blood on your hands. Let them think they got away with it, because now God's verdict is rolling in like thunder, and the elevation you're about to walk into will not be a random blessing. It will be a divine verdict. The doors are opening not because you networked, begged, or performed, but because heaven said, case closed. The best part? Your elevation will be undeniable. They won't be able to say it was luck. They won't be able to say it was favoritism. The very people who laughed at your prayers will choke on the reality of your answered ones. And when they ask how it all changed, the truth will be simple. God saw everything. He heard everything. And now, He's acting on it. Number two, your wilderness season was actually witness protection. You thought you were being isolated because no one liked you. You thought the phone stopped ringing because you weren't good enough. You thought people distancing themselves meant something was wrong with you. But what if that isolation was actually divine protection? What if God wasn't punishing you? He was hiding you. You were in witness protection, not because you were weak, but because you carried something too powerful to be exposed prematurely. You weren't being rejected. You were being preserved. There were things you were carrying spiritually that required silence, distance, and complete disconnection from the wrong voices. You didn't know it, but your environment was full of spiritual hackers. People who only came close to download your secrets, hijack your peace, and contaminate your clarity. God saw what you couldn't, so He snatched you away before the sabotage could become permanent. That loneliness wasn't random. It was surgical. It was a setup to separate you from parasites who only thrived when they were close enough to drain you. You were surrounded by people who couldn't celebrate you because your very presence exposed their lack of purpose. So God cut the connection without warning and let you sit in silence, not to punish, but to recalibrate. And in that hidden season, you learned things you couldn't have learned with an audience. You discovered how to stand without applause, how to hear God without outside interference, how to recognize fake love without needing a betrayal to prove it. You developed strength in isolation that you never could have built in a crowd. That solitude was boot camp for your next level. And now that you're about to be elevated, you'll be able to spot a parasite a mile away. You won't crave attention like before. You'll understand that peace is more valuable than popularity. People thought your absence meant you failed, but the truth is, you were being protected from warfare you didn't even know was forming. God hid you to save your anointing from being handled carelessly. He let them forget you so they couldn't claim your glow-up. The same folks who thought you were done will now be shocked when they see how God reintroduces you, stronger, wiser, and completely untouchable.